The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
A new session has begun. And once again, there are many issues that will come before the members of this chamber. As elected representatives of the people of this great state, may the ears and hearts of every member be open to the hopes, the dreams, and the needs of those whom you represent. Of course, you know there will be long days and nights in the days ahead, and may each member be blessed with good health during this session, that you will faithfully fulfill the great responsibility given you in your service to the work to which you have been called. It has been my privilege over the years, imagine this, to have been with you as chaplain of the day in the House and the Senate 20 times. And so today, I want to share with you a final message, a song. And I invite you to sing along if you know the words. Minnesota, hail to thee, our state so dear. Thy light shall ever be a beacon bright and clear. Thy sons and daughters true will proclaim you near and far. You shall guard their fame and adore their name. You shall be their northern star. Blessings to each of you.
The chaplain for today is Reverend Ralph Olson from Woodbury, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The clerk will take the roll.
Interesting. I don't know what to make of it. After I read the other motions, Dan?
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 91st Session, 2020, 63rd day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Tuesday, February 18th, 2020.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Reports of standing committees and division. A copy of this order of business has been placed on each member's desk. If there's no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House File number 673.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File number 1152.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 3510 through 3570.
First reading House files 3510 through 3570. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there's no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
Moran moves that House File number 3032 be recalled from the Committee on Commerce and be re-referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services Policy.
Representative Moran, to your motion.
Yes, Madam Speaker and members, I am moving. Representative Halverson is out sick today. In order to keep her bill moving and on time, we're going to move this bill to Health and Human Service Policy Committee. And once it leaves Health and Human Policy Committee, it will go back to Commerce.
Any discussion to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Edelson moves that House File number 3453 be recalled from the Corrections Division and be re-referred to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Reform Finance and Policy Division.
Representative Adelson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This bill relates to risk assessments for youth. Chair Mariani wants to see the bill, and Chair Considine agrees to this change. Thank you.
Any discussion to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Hamilton moves that the rules of the House be so far suspended that House File number 2959 be recalled from the Committee on Capital Investment and be given its second and third readings and be placed upon its final passage.
The member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is my motion. And so this would declare an urgency, of course, for House File 2959. And what this bill does is it'll allocate $50 million to be appropriated to the Rural Finance Authority. We heard testimony on this just yesterday in the Agriculture Committee, and why this is so important is we don't have time to wait for a bonding bill to pass. We don't even have time to wait to the end of the month. The testimony was told, or they told us that they're going to be without dollars within 2 days. This is absolutely critical that we pass this. And for those of you that don't know, the RFA has been around for quite some time, the Rural Finance Authority, and it has a strong record of success. Through December 31st of 2019, they've received these various benchmarks. Over 3,094 loans were issued with close to $300 million. And it's been very, very successful again as far as these loans being paid back. They are sold as user finance bonds. So when the farmers pay it back, then those proceeds will pay off the bonds. So, Madam Speaker, I ask for a roll call and I ask for your support.
Representative Hamilton moves for a suspension of the rules and requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Discussion. The member from Mauer, Representative Poppe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And to the motion, I agree that we have a need to address this issue. I know that we have a hearing scheduled in the Capital Investment Committee next Monday morning at 8 o'clock. So hopefully we'll be able to move it from there. And perhaps then shortly thereafter, we'd be able to follow through and maybe suspend the rules at that point. But at this point, I would just urge members to vote against the motion. Thank you.
Discussion. The member from Polk, Representative Keel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I would point out that at this time, we're February 19th, all of our farmers are busy getting ready for the next year. In fact, they probably were buying seed in November and December. They're going through their bills. They're talking to their bankers. Why this is so urgent is this is a yesterday need. Those farmers that are on the line that need to have help with the funds from Rural Finance Authority, help them to get through this year that is going to be a little challenging. I would want to make clear that when we have a poor year, and in my district, we didn't just lose one crop. That's not uncommon to have one poor crop. But we we had damage in all of our crops. And so, and we're still trying to get corn out. It's not unusual. I have a cornfield. It's not mine, but it's across the road from me. It is still not untouched. And they will hope to get it off when they can. It's probably not high value, so they're waiting to be able to take it off, and it's costly to dry. But this is so important for them to exist, to farm another year. And the other thing I want to point out is a lot of these are young, upcoming farmers. These are the startup taking over. Remember, the age of our farmers are in their 50s or late 50s, and so the sons and daughters are coming through now and starting to farm with their dads and establish themselves. And so this Rural Finance Authority is really a connection between generations, helping them to move forward and be able to finance their farms and their businesses and keep it going in rural Minnesota. And remember, this is super important for rural Minnesota, not just our farmers, but for our Main Street businesses. This is a very interconnected project in our area, and if farmers don't repair their tractors, have parts bought, the implement dealers suffer, the grocery store suffers. There isn't as many people buying as much groceries. And if you go in my district and ask those people, they will tell you all that that is a problem. So I would really like us to reconsider moving this along as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Discussion to the motion to suspend the rules. The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. And we have heard in the past in capital investment testimony from the RFA. I'm sure we heard from them last year. We know the needs, but now we have a crisis. So we've already heard from them. The crisis is now. We need to deal with it now. Listening to them on Monday is not going to change the status of where things are today. Let's move it along, let's move it faster and get it through. I mean, we're going to do a bonding bill, but it's not going to be done next week.
Discussion to the motion. The member from Aiken, Representative Lewick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It might seem convenient to kind of move along on legislative time on this one, but that's not the right thing to do. These folks have had a couple of really tough years. They work on a year timeline. They're working right now on stuff that's got to happen, make decisions with bankers and the finances and exactly what they're going to do that is going to deal with their entire next 12 months. So let's not move this along at legislative time. Let's move this along at the speed of agriculture, which is right now. As I said, I'm a member of the Ag Committee myself, and there are no dollars left there to loan out right now. So we need to get off the business. This has been well vetted for over a year. There's nothing magic about this. This program has been in place for many, many decades. And so let's, for goodness sakes, for once, not do this on legislative time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Roseau, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, members, I support the Hamilton motion. I think this is absolutely essential. We can send a message to rural Minnesota that we're listening, we understand their issues, and we can move this along today. I'd like to reiterate what Representative Erdahl said about a hearing on Monday. As Representative Lewick said too, this has been a program that's been around for a long time. It's been highly successful, and we've moved this program along in the past. Quite frankly, there's not very many members in this chamber who are going to attend the hearing on Monday. I know how this place works. And if you do attend it, you're probably not going to learn anything new. We know about this program. We know how essential it is. There are some of you that live in counties that were declared a disaster area now in the recent declaration from Governor Walz. 2 of those counties happen to be in my area, but it actually impacts the neighboring counties because if you're immediately contiguous to a county that's been declared a disaster, you would also qualify. So we're trying to help these people along. Members, just before I came here, in fact, I walked across through the tunnel with them. I had 4 young couples in my office who are part of the Emerging Leaders Program. They're farmers and business people in Northwest Minnesota. And I would challenge every single one of you in this chamber to sit down with them and talk to them and get a sense for how critically important it is to move legislation like this or to do some tax relief that we're talking about doing. We should not be delaying this, so that we can abide by some calendar that really doesn't need to be abided by to have a hearing on Monday. Let's move this today. Let's send a strong, loud message to rural Minnesota that we understand what's going on, we understand the urgency, and we're here to listen to you and to help you through a troubled time. I urge a green vote. Thank you, Chair Hamilton, and I'm assuming you asked for a roll call. Thank you.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Representative Pearson, you're next on the list, but for what purpose do you rise?
If Chair Murphy would yield for a question.
A point of order can interrupt debate, but unless you have a point of order, you were next on the list.
My parliamentary inquiry is, it's been mentioned 4 times that we have a meeting on Monday morning that we do not have on the calendar, and I'm not aware is occurring.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand as one of a small number of farmers in this body to speak in favor of the Hamilton motion. I'll just make 2 quick points. One, the farm economy is in crisis. If we don't do this soon, it's not only going to be days late, but farmers are going to be dollars short. And second, this costs the state hardly anything. It's a loan program. The farmers pay these loans back. The record of repayment is tremendous. It's not like it's going to take money from another program. This is the sort of thing that we should do and do soon. Thank you, Madam Speaker and members.
The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, so last night a lot of us attended the Farm Bureau dinner, and if you attended, you would have talked to a lot of those farmers that said life isn't rosy. Last year was bad. This year is not looking great, and they're asking for our help, and they're asking for you to pay attention. Prior to that same day, I met with some of the Minnesota milk producers. The day before that, in my district, I met with the Carver County Dairy Association. Farmers are hurting, folks, and I support the Hamilton motion because we can't wait. They are running out of time. The clock is ticking, and they are looking at this, and they don't know what's going on. I think I've shared before, about a year ago in my district, there was somebody who also felt that they were at the end of their rope, and they made a very bad decision. They eventually decided to take their own life because things were hopeless. And they were looking to us, and a lot of them are looking to us to provide a little bit of hope. So members, I urge you to vote green and provide some hope.
The member from Olmsted, Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I guess I'd just ask if the member from St. Louis County, right, would yield.
She will yield. Representative Pearson.
And thank you, Madam Speaker. Chair Murphy, is there a meeting on Monday morning for capital investment?
The member from St. Louis, Representative Murphy.
Madam Speaker, Representative Pearson, there is a meeting tonight at 6:30. There is a meeting tomorrow morning at 8, from 8 to 9:45. There is a meeting on Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. But let me tell you that several of the people that have spoken today have never mentioned this issue to me as chair of the bonding committee or the bill. I have been told by the department people that yes, they are going to run out of money on February 21st. I am aware of the importance because the people from the Department of Agriculture came and spoke to me last week. And we talked about hearing it in the Capital Investment Committee, and it is on the schedule to be heard in the Capital Investment Committee. I did not detect that there was an urgency that it had to be this week or next week that we considered it. But I also brought it to the attention of my majority leader and my speaker that this was a critical issue, and what were we going to do with it after the discussion that takes place in capital investment. Now, as I started to say before I got to those exact facts, several of the people that have spoken have talked to me this week about bills that aren't even scheduled yet because they pertain to their districts in particular. But no one representative has spoken to me about this urgency.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I guess, again, it had been repeated several times that the meeting was Monday, and I thought that should be clarified. Obviously, if the funds expire on the 21st or run out on the 21st, that's Friday. And I guess if we have failed as a body to recognize that this is an urgency, then that's our mistake. But we have an opportunity here at this time and in this place to remedy that mistake. Let's move forward and vote green on the urgency to take up the RFA funding.
The member from Scott, Representative Vogel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I speak in favor of the motion. Having worked in the banking industry and knowing how the loan process goes, when you add uncertainty to a loan application or a loan in process, sometimes it can be weeks before you gather steam again because the loan committee might not be meeting. The processing might stop. So I realize this is not something that we want to be doing right now, but I do think that it could have an impact on someone somewhere because of the process that they're in right now, getting ready for the growing season. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? The member from Mauer, Representative Poppe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And first, my apologies to the body. I misspoke. It is Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., so to clarify, I misspoke and I looked at my calendar incorrectly, so that's my mistake. But I will again say that I know that this is a critical issue, and it's one that we want to address appropriately and through the process, and that process is happening as quickly as we can. And so on Tuesday morning, we'll be hearing this in the Capital Investment Committee. After that point, we may then decide that an urgency and emergency could exist, and we want to act on that. I do understand that the money is nearing its end. It will be replenished. We can all certainly attest to the fact that we feel it's an urgency and a need to do. I just don't believe we should be doing it today. So I'm speaking against the motion for the urgency today, but I will ask people to keep this in mind as we are talking about it perhaps next week. Thank you.
The member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I seriously thought that this was going to go through. I did after the testimony and everything. And just to understand the timeline on this, today is the 19th. We took testimony that said Friday the 21st. That's 2 days. They're going to run out of money. And now we're saying that there's going to be a meeting on Tuesday, which is the 25th. That's 4 days after we run out of money. The urgency is now. So again, I ask for your support. Thank you.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I would urge a no vote on the Hamilton motion. Certainly, we agree that the state has a role in funding RFA and making sure that this program is functioning for farmers across Minnesota, and we are committed to taking this issue up. But I do think if this is about sending a message to rural Minnesota, it's important to be honest about what that message is. And the message today is that the people who are arguing for this have not done their homework and have not reached out to the chairs, to the speaker, to the majority leader, and all the people who have to be part of suspending the rules. And in addition, we have to get it through the Senate on an urgency basis, and just passing it today wouldn't accomplish any of those things. Generally speaking, and this is for all members, if there's an urgency and something needs to be passed right away, it's a really good idea to touch base with the chairs of the relevant committees, to touch base with the House Speaker and the House Majority Leader, rather than introducing a surprise motion on the floor with no notice. That suggests not urgency, but politics. And so if you want to be clear about the goal, I think bringing forward that motion while having that communication with the other members of the body who are relevant is an important way to signal to everyone here that that is your goal. So, members, we are committed to taking this up. As Chair Murphy mentioned, there is a hearing coming. We have a conversation ongoing with the Senate, and the regular order of the House of Representatives can be suspended to take up urgent action when the homework is done. But right now the homework isn't complete. And just having heard this at a hearing yesterday without having any preparation ahead of time, even though this has been a crisis in the making for a long time, just is not getting the homework done. And I would hope that we could do our work properly and send the message to rural Minnesota, to farmers, that we are committed to doing the work on their behalf and that we will get the job done and get it done right.
The member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Majority Leader, it almost seems like you're calling my integrity into question. You know, this isn't an urgency, and quite frankly, it should have been your idea. You know, coming from your side of the aisle, you're in the leadership role. You have the majority. Once again, I ask for your support.
Any further discussion to the motion? The member from Roseau, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Majority Leader Winkler, your notion that this is politics, I find that extremely troubling. You are in a significant leadership role. This is something that you could have easily brought forward yourself. Question that I have of the body is, what happens to an application that's in some sort of a financial institution where they're trying to get an RFA loan? And that expires on Friday. Do they have to go back through the entire process again? If that's the case, that shouldn't be happening. And to question Chair Hamilton's motives in relating this to politics, members, I was at the One Minnesota conference last week, and issues like this were things that were talked about. If we can't all rally around something like this, we might just as well pack our bags and go home. So members, I encourage a green vote. And for those of you that live in rural Minnesota that are impacted by this kind of stuff, I challenge you to vote against your leadership. Stand up, help us out. Thank you.
Any further discussion? The member from, I should have it memorized, Fillmore, Representative Davids.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I wasn't as quick on my feet as I once was, and normally I would have stood up during my good friend, the Majority Leader's talk when he was clearly questioning motives. So I would just remind the body, I'm not standing up to a point of order, section 124, item 3, it is not the person but the measure that is the subject of debate and is not allowable to arraign the motives of a member. So to say that something's political, my good friend Chair Hamilton is the least political person I know. I would expect somebody to say that of me, not of him. And so let's just remember that we don't arraign the motives of other members that just happened here. Thank you.
Any further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the motion. The clerk will close the roll. There being 53 ayes and 72 nays, the motion does not prevail. The rules are not suspended. The clerk will report Senate concurrent resolution number 6 as amended.
Senate concurrent resolution number 6 as amended, a Senate concurrent resolution adopting deadlines for the 2020 session. Winkler moves that Senate concurrent resolution number 6 as amended be now adopted.
I call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler, to explain the concurrent resolution.
Madam Speaker and members, these are the deadlines that we adopted yesterday or recommended for adoption in the Rules Committee yesterday. The first deadline of March 20th, the second deadline of March 27th, and the third deadline of April 3rd. These are in agreement with the Senate, and I would ask for a yes vote, please.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails, and Senate concurrent resolution number 6 as amended is adopted. Announcements. The member from Olmsted, Representative Sauk.
I'd like to remind people that there is a meeting this afternoon in SOB 546 having to do with mobile home parks and the structures that we have in the state. This mobile home parks, as we all know, is kind of at the lower end of the price scale in terms of supplying housing to the market, and that's the topic that we discuss, is how to leverage that set of assets for the good of the public.
Any further announcements? The member from Hennepin, Representative Carlson.
Madam Speaker, members, just a reminder, the Ways and Means Committee will be meeting this evening, and we have a rather ambitious agenda, so I'd appreciate people showing up on time. Thank you.
Announcements. The member from Stearns, Representative Tice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today is the day. Yay, St. Cloud at the Capitol. So from 5 to 7 this afternoon, I hope to see you all at the Capitol Ridge. It'll be a great time. You might even get to meet my husband, I'm not really sure. Or maybe Dan's wife, we're not really sure. Thank you.
Announcements. The member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, February 20th, 2020.
Representative Winkler moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, February 20th, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Winkler moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 3:30 Thursday, February 20th, 2020.